Okay, well, I'm so appreciative of the opportunity to be here today and to share more about DOR programs. I did take a journey through the Parents Helping Parents and the Connections California website and found that our mission and our visions are similar. We also support youth and adults with disabilities to prepare for and attain bright futures. So I'm going to start today by talking a little bit about what we believe. And this is what we believe about individuals with disabilities, and it can be of all ages. It can be students, youth, young adults. There's no age range. And we also work with individuals that have the most significant disabilities. So we know that everyone is different with their own set of strengths and their own talents, as well as the challenges. And there's challenges that can create barriers to school and barriers at work and then barriers with others. But we believe that we know that differences may include disabilities where our body and our brain or our feelings work in a way that requires strategies or tools to support greater success in school or work. So it's looking, differences in, again, the body, how the body's working, the brain, thinking, cognitive, and then the feelings and the emotions. And we know that there are strategies and tools to support that greater success. We want to respect differences, and we are committed to full inclusion. I've worked at the department for over 13 years, and I can tell you that our mission statement and our vision, our mission and our vision, they're not just words that are hung on the wall with a frame. I would challenge anyone to ask anyone that works at the Department of Rehabilitation what our mission is, and they'll be able to tell you, because it resonates in our heart, and it's the passion that keeps us going, so that we can continue to make differences. So back to what we believe is, talents. We know that talent can be a natural aptitude that you're born with. And it can also be refined and learned and fine-tuned with practice and experience. Thank goodness. We are committed to guiding those we serve to tap into their talent or consider talents that they would like to practice to build more confidence. And then the last bullet here talks about meaningful employment. And meaningful employment leads to equality, it leads to independence, and what it means, it's earning a life-sustaining wage in employment that's satisfying, right? So we know work it has to be meaningful, and what meaningful means is different for all of us, but we want it to be meaningful, so it's not just cookie cutter. Everything is individualized, and we also go beyond entry level. There was a time in our history where we really focused on entry level, getting the easiest job, the fastest. But now we've expanded beyond that, and we're really looking at career pathways and where to start and how to get to that goal. So, and what we've heard and what we've seen and what we've experienced, that for some individuals with disabilities, working has not been part of the discussion when they're growing up. And I've worked with many, many adults who are just learning about the world of work. So maybe they're in their 30s or 40s or 50s or beyond, and they're just learning because they weren't given chores. They didn't have expectations when they were growing up because of their disability. And we know the earlier individuals with disabilities learn about their talents and their strengths and their goals, and just how the world of work works, the more likely they are to be able to advocate for themselves. And when we talk about advocating, it's both at school and at work. So this slide here, it's titled Preparing for the World of Work. And one of our goals is to engage with individuals as early as possible. And I'm going to share with you, if our director had his way, we would be serving individuals in the womb as early as possible. So when we think about that, we're looking at early sets of services that really kick off the continuum of services. We're looking at pre-employment services. We're like, what do I want to do? How do I get there? What barriers might be in the way, so we can consider those in advance. But it's an opportunity to learn about and prepare for work. the services, the pre-employment services preparing for the world of work, they're intended to maximize early job exploration and career development. So as early as possible. I can't see anyone, but if I asked everyone, when you grew up, did you think you would have the job you have now? Not very many people would raise their hands. Never, when I was growing up, I never said, oh, I want to be a manager of policy. So, it's okay. We want to learn things early and then play with it and, test it out and then maybe try something else. And, and our services provide that opportunity. So we don't just end at pre-employment services. We have a full array of employment services, again, for individuals of all ages, regardless of disability. So it's two-part, right? We have the preparation, the pre-employment services. So, thinking about what's the path I want to follow, as well as I've identified a path. Now, how do I get there, right? And helping with training, helping with tuition, helping with books, helping with transportation, helping with a resume and interview practice, helping with interview flows, and just making connections with employers. So we're committed to partnering with as many like-minded groups as possible to ensure that students with disabilities, when they leave school, they either have meaningful employment or they have a plan. They have a vocational plan. What is it that I want to be doing, rather than, you graduate or you leave school and it's like, well, what am I going to do now? So starting earlier in that thinking. But going back to the slide here, there's 5 areas or sets of activities listed here that support an individual's ability to thrive in the world of work. And I'm going to provide some specific examples of activities that are either arranged, provided, or coordinated by DOR staff. So the first, it's not really bullet, but the first section there talks about identifying talent and interest and opportunities. And when we break this down into, well, what does that mean, Nancy? It could include, and these are not an inclusive list of activities, but it could include completing vocational interest inventories, interests, related to the work environment. Do they want to work in an office? Do they want to work outside? Do they want to work alone, with a team? Do they have preferences in work shift? Are there any considerations about exposure to noise or light or sound? And then as well as the job tasks. And some individuals are also interested in, what's my role going to be in the organization, as well as, of course, income and benefits. So other activities are related to identifying talent, interests, and opportunities could be exploring in-demand industry sectors and occupations. And this could be traditional and non-traditional employment. When we think about non-traditional, maybe it's apprenticeships. For years and years and years, we've been told, you got to go to college, Well, college may not be accessible for everyone. And apprenticeships they're growing, they're expanding, they're going beyond just the construction trades, and they're including, culinary and optical services, and let's see, film industry. There's many different apprenticeships where people can learn and learn on the job. And then we also support individuals who want to be self-employed. They have an entrepreneurial spirit. What might they want to do? And we can support them in putting together a business plan, helping with like all the first expenses that come with that. If it's a business license, if there's some tools they need, if there's some supplies, if there's some inventory, there's a lot of different things in there. Recently, I spoke with a group of, it's like young adults, okay, so like 18, 19, 20, and they pursued self-employment through DOR, and one is working as a tattoo artist, one has an Etsy shop, and then the other one is doing event planning, right? So there's a lot, and those are just a few. There's many different opportunities, but it doesn't, we don't have to look for self-employment just for individuals who are, have much more experience and are, want to take their experience and roll that into to being their own boss. We can look at that for people of all ages. And then other activities for identifying talents could be exploring the labor market, right? What areas are you interested in as far as topically, industry-wise? Where are the hot jobs? Where the most in demand? Is it different by geographic area? And then just add that to the mix of what you're considering. And then also ultimately the goal here would be to identify some career pathways to get a job or to have your career goals. So we can help individuals get a job, or we can help them on their career path. So we meet everyone where they are, and then we help them get to where they want to go. So the second little area here talks about getting real world work experience to learn about jobs of interest and practice good work habits. So research shows us that work experience is one of the best predictors of job success. So this may include informational interviews to learn about jobs, to learn about work settings, to learn about employer expectations. It could include work site tours to learn about an industry or a specific job, touring work sites to see job settings and observing job duties, and just really just learning more about that industry. It could include job shadowing, watching someone who's doing the job, seeing firsthand how the work is performed, as well as learning a little bit about employer expectations. What do they expect in terms of attendance and hygiene and interpersonal relationships, interacting, communication with others. It also could include mentoring, so talking to professionals who are doing that work, the work that they think they're interested in, and asking them questions, the good, the bad, the ugly, right, about everything. And then also on-site work-based experiences. This could be paid or unpaid, including internships and apprenticeships or pre-apprenticeships probably, and volunteering or on-the-job training. So again, hands-on experience, being in the workplace, learning more about how do I go to work and who am I at work, right? So learning a little bit more about themselves. The third section here talks about research how to get where they want to be and develop the best path to prepare for and reach job or career goals. So this could include counseling, counseling about post-secondary education, meaning post-secondary education. It could be college, it could be university, it could be apprenticeships, it could be a vocational school, an occupational school, but really exploring the different types of academic or occupational training. We've supported individuals who want to pursue training at public schools as well as private schools and vocational schools and trade schools, and also helping people get prepared if they want to work, they want to serve in the military, right? We also, this would include activities about learning about industry recognized credentials. So what's required to get the job? So yes, there's some training, but is there a license? Is there a certification? What do I also need to do after training? And then it's also looking at advising students and parents or their representatives on academic curricula, right? What's offered at different schools? How do you apply for financial aid? How do you get scholarships? And then, tapping into other financial support. And this would be looking for financial support above and beyond what the Department of Rehabilitation would provide. So we pay for tuition, we pay for books and tutoring, and like I guess mentioned, transportation to and from school, and then any other like supportive device aids, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But the fourth area here says celebrate employment benefits. So this is preparing to get a job and keeping the job. So learning about effective interpersonal and other communication skills. Activities could include gaining or expanding understanding about budgeting, saving, spending strategy for individuals that are receiving disability benefits. What are the work incentives for either continuing to receive those disability benefits or transitioning away from those benefits, and what that might look like. Activities could include orientation and mobility skills, and travel training. So how do I use the bus, right? How do I use an Uber? How do I, I'm recently newly blind or visually impaired. How do I learn to move? How do I learn to make sure that I stay safe? So lots of different trainings there. Learning about the different, this is a big one. I've heard it from many people, learning about the differences between special ed services in high school and disability student services on campus. We've set up opportunities for individuals to meet with recent high school graduates who were receiving special education. They had a 504 plan or IEP, and now they've transitioned to college. And we've created these opportunities for someone who's exploring that to learn more about, well, what is that going to feel like? What's that going to look like? And then, the other piece of this, of course, is creating a resume and practicing filling out job applications and mock interviews to practice job skills. And then the very last section here, it says, be your own champion. So this includes learning and practicing self-advocacy, learning to be more comfortable and empowered, feeling empowered to communicate your strengths and your abilities and your interests and needs in education as well as at work. So activities include learning about the rights and responsibilities as a student, as an employee, learning how to request accommodations or services or supports. It's very different in high school. If you 504 plan or you have an IEP, you receive these accommodations. When you go to work, you have to ask for them. So so we work with individuals practicing, how do you request, what do you want to disclose about your disability and your needs? And there's a wide range of preferences there. We also provide some skills to maximize ability to live independently, participate in youth leadership opportunities. Every year we have a youth leadership academy in Sacramento, and then we're starting to build, or not build, but we're starting to put together regional youth leadership opportunities to practice and get experience and work and be involved with other individuals of their age with disabilities. And then the last piece here would also be learning about voting. How do I vote? How do I participate in civic duties and privileges there? So it's not just all about work, but it's the bigger picture of being part of the community that you're interested in. And I really want to be clear that this is just a few of the activities that we can provide and support, arrange, coordinate for students with disabilities, individuals with disabilities. There is a full array, and services are individualized and customized and tailored to meet the needs of that individual. I'm going to go to the next slide, and I'm so hopeful that this will work. I want to provide, I'm really excited to give you a sneak peek at a pilot program that we're putting together in the LA County area with the goal to expand statewide as soon as the pilot is completed. So I'm going to click on this link and let's see if it opens up. Okay, so is the website visible? Someone can let me know.
Yep, we see it. We're good.
Perfect. So we're partnering with this pilot with the Institute for Workplace Skills and Innovation, IWSI, who are leaders in apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships. But they've created customized services for us to bring a distinctive set of services through their Career Launchpad program. So this is the careerlaunchpad.org website. And the website is really, really inviting for students and youth. It's person-centered. It speaks directly to the junior or the senior in high school. And we've asked them to expand that to all students, regardless of school campus or their grade. The homepage here, it starts by acknowledging that many have one thing on their mind. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. It says, well, folks, if you're a California high school junior or senior, I imagine you've got one thing on your mind. What will I do with my life, right? Soon as people are finishing school, completing school, graduating, walking away from school. What's the question we all get asked? What are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do now? And I really, the wording on the website is, like I said, very person-centered, very supportive. It shares that a career is a journey. It's not just a destination, and taking time to explore interests and passion is part of that journey. The pilot here is going to begin with, let me get to the next page here. 1 second. Sorry about this. So the services here. There's going to be 3 different buckets of services. One is providing workplace readiness skills training, and that's preparing students with social and interpersonal skills needed in any employment setting. Again, it's individualized to match the student's specific training needs, and it could include training in technology, literacy, developing transportation plans, job seeking skills, and strengthening communication and interpersonal skills. The second area is going to be the job exploration counseling. And this service is helping students gain information about different careers and personal career interests. Just like job readiness training, it's individualized. It can include activities such as researching in-demand jobs, learning about wages, career pathways, and setting up work site tours. And then the third set of activities that Career Launchpad is going to be supporting are the student services paid work experience, to be able to explore competitive work, right? How to build foundational employment skills and really gain the confidence and learn more about the world of work. So along with the individual's DOR counselor, they also would have an opportunity to work with a Career Launchpad case manager who will provide resources and support and really individualized assistance to be more successful in navigating that transition from school to meaningful employment. So career-wise, the Career Launchpad program provides spotlight information on healthcare, on occupations in healthcare, manufacturing, information technology, energy, agriculture, and finance. So more information to come on this. When you get the PowerPoint, the link is in the PowerPoint slide. I would encourage everyone to take some time and look at their accessibility menu here. It's the best I've ever seen. You can set up a screen reader. You can change the contrast and colors. You can highlight links so you know exactly where to go. You can change the size of the text and the spacing between the text. You can pause animations if they are distracting. You can hide images. It's dyslexia friendly, so in many different ways. You can change the size of the cursor, the page structure, and then just like you can, as you can change the text spacing horizontally, you can change the line height up and down vertically, and then also choose how you want to align the text. You want it to be left justified, right justified, or centered. So it's pretty amazing. There's also at the very top, you can change the language and it will immediately translate. It defaults to English Australian because the owner, the developer, the person who started, the founder, I guess I should say, he's from Australia. So it defaults to Australian English. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can get back to the PowerPoint now. So let's see. Okay, so the PowerPoint visible now?
We are back.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yay! Conquering technology. So this slide is titled Opportunities in the World of Work. And I've shared some of this already, but we're not looking at entry-level jobs unless that's what the person wants. If that's what they want, that's where we'll start. But we're also, we've had much success in occupations in the healthcare and the green energy and information technology and biotechnology and business career pathways through, on-the-job training where we actually contract with an employer where they're going to provide, a certain set of training skills, certain set of support with the understanding and the agreement that at the end of that on-the-job training, the individual will have the job. And then during that on-the-job training, they're also paid a wage. So it's a fabulous way to get experience, get training, and then have a job at the end of it, right? And then apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, and different types of training, whether it's through a vocational school, college, university, and entrepreneurship. But I know I'm repeating myself, but it's worth repeating. And then some of the hot jobs where we have worked with individuals and they've obtained jobs is in software developers and nurse practitioners, solar installers, occupational therapy assistants, and statisticians. But it's really a full spectrum, considering what the individual's unique interests and skills and talents, and we make sure that everyone we work with has the opportunity to exercise informed choice. So the counselor isn't telling the individual, you have to do this. It's, here's a buffet. What would you like to put on your plate, right? And start there. So that's the opportunities in the world of work. The next slide here is titled Access and Accommodation. And there's 2 bullet points here. The first one is we provide aids and services to provide individuals with sensory and or communicative disabilities with equal access to information and materials and services and activities. And then we have a full array of accommodations and supports that are available through the employment side of our programs. So we have the pre-employment and employment, but I really wanted to share a short list of strategies or tools that provide support. And some of them are referred to as assistive technology or AT, but they are tools that are used to help individuals accomplish tasks at school and at work, and then during training as well. So here's a short list. We can provide job coaching and short-term supports, ergonomic workstations, teleworking, coordinating teleworking or a modified work schedule with an employer or a trainer, magnifiers and talking devices and braille displays, screen reading software, large print materials, voice recognition software, digital recorders. We can coordinate and provide individuals with readers or scribes, note takers. We also, of course, if we're going to provide voice recognition software, we best provide a computer for that. So we do that. And then we also do some training on how to use a phone or other devices that have cameras that could be used to copy information from a whiteboard. And then the information can be stored digitally and then converted to text. It's amazing, the technology that's available out there for assistive technologies. We can also provide MP3 recorders. So record ideas, help boost the memory, hearing aids to hear or hear more clearly. Some more fun tools are automatic page turners or book holders. There's adapted pencil grips if someone has some fine motor skills challenges, and a adapted pencil grip would be helpful. And then, of course, we can work with employers to talk with them or training sites about maintaining chemical or fragrance-free zones. So there's a lot. There's a lot that we do. And then part of this too, when we're talking about accommodations and assistive technology, is we also provide guidance on, like I mentioned, how to ask for those accommodations, and how to have that discussion with the employer. And then also providing training on how do I use this voice recognition software? How do I use the screen reader? So we can't just provide the software, we need to provide the how-to there. So the next couple slides are the how do you request services, right? So whether it's pre-employment or employment services, it's the same way. So individuals can refer themselves. A parent, a guardian, or a conservator can refer individuals with disabilities to DOR. School staff in collaboration with the student and their parent. Very minimal information is required to get started. Of course, name and contact. How do I get a hold of you? Date of birth, and date of birth is requested because we have a select group of activities that are specialized for individuals who are 16 to 21. It doesn't mean that they can't receive the full array of services, but we have some specially identified groups of services for individuals within that age group. And then we ask for disability information, and then very little demographic information, their gender and race or ethnicity, and then their parent, guardian, conservator's name, and how do we get a hold of them. And if the individual is under 18 years old, we would need consent by the parent, guardian, or conservator, not necessarily at the beginning, but before we provide any services. So if you wanted your child to talk to someone at DOR and get more information, the consent signature isn't required until we are going to provide services. So it allows some opportunity for some discussion and informed choice. And then this slide is the how to contact. So there's many different ways. I have 4 links here. One is just general information. So if there's anything that I've shared today and you would like more information on it, our website probably has that information. And I can also provide my email address and you can contact me directly. There's a link to getting started. So we do, requesting services, applying for services. There's a link to our office locations. We have 84 locations across the state, I believe. And then we also have an online portal where individuals that are interested in more information or do want to request services, they can go to the portal and fill out a little bit of information, and then the DOR staff member, typically a counselor, would contact them to schedule their first meeting. They can bring anyone they want to the first meeting. It's perfectly fine. The how to request services it's pretty wide, right? Individuals can stop by an office in person. They don't have to make an appointment. If they want to, they can. They can call. They can fill out a paper application. They can fill out an electronic application. They can go through our portal. School can refer them directly to us. In reality, it could be on a napkin, as long as we have enough information to know, who the person is and how do we get a hold of them. So, we definitely don't want any application process to get in the way of really being able to engage with people and answer questions and see, what the best fit is as far as what services we have that are going to meet the needs of each individual person. The next slide here, I love to, do a shout out here that we are always looking for partnering opportunities. So some ideas that we've come up with is we invite you to share with families during secondary transition workshops and or any other outreach events, advocating for including pre-employment and employment activities and IEPs, and welcoming or inviting the DOR counselor to attend. Oftentimes, services or activities to prepare for work or get a job are not necessarily part of an IEP. But again, the earlier we start planting seeds of opportunity, the better. And then also we, invite you to promote engaging with DOR to learn more about our opportunities and that exercising of informed choice, which is one of our North Stars. We always want to make sure that everyone has enough information to make a choice and a decision that works for them. We also have district administrators at across the state. So there's 14 different districts. So we have 14 district administrators, and they can coordinate sharing presentations. So like this, or if they, if it wanted to be specialized for IEPs or 504 plans, just let the district administrator know, and I can provide all that contact information. And then we also encourage collaborating with our staff to really ensure that our services and resources are available in languages other than English if needed. We have interpretation services that I think there's somewhere upwards of 200 different languages that we can coordinate that interpretation. And then we also translate any vital documents into any number of languages. We want to make sure that we have full access as possible. Okay, so this is almost the last slide, and it says, we're with you. I looked on the website, and I was so excited when I saw this statement, together we can change the world, one child at a time, one family at a time, and one community at a time. This has been one of my mantras for many years now, that if we change the life of a child, we change the life of a family, and we change the life of the community, and then that will go global. So, so working together to change the world, one child at a time, and then just cascading that across geographically, generationally, and just make sure that everyone knows what the different options and resources are. And then this is my last slide. So I am so grateful for having the opportunity to be here today, and I know Alyssa's going to provide the PowerPoint afterwards, but I definitely want to. I'll stop sharing my screen, and then we can go through some Q&A if you have any questions. If I don't get a chance, I really want to thank all of you for the invitation to present and share all of the goodies of DOR. So I'm going to stop sharing here.
Oh, thank you so much. That was wonderful, Nancy. That was more than I bargained for. I thought we were just going to hear about student services. So I loved hearing the whole overview. That was wonderful. So as promised, I have put links to both the Spanish and the English evaluations in the chat. All you need to do is click on that. It'll bring you to the form. If you could just fill it out. Again, I said 3 very short questions. And again, that allows us to bring this quality programming to viewers like you. That's a tagline for like KQED in my neck of the woods. I don't know if it is for anybody else. Okay, let's start with the questions that we have.
Okay. You want me to read them, Alyssa?
No, that's okay. I can read them for you, and then you can answer. I'm just looking for the first one. Are there timelines for DOR services? It feels like it's so far been a slow and frustrating process that only moves when I email and ask for an update.
Well, I'm sorry for that. So I want to offer my apologies for that. There are no timelines as far as how long an individual can be engaged with DOR. And there are no what I want to say. Someone can come back over and over and over again. So, we know that disabilities change over life, and that situations change and life stages change. So they're always welcome to come back and work with, whether it's the same counselor or another counselor, they may have moved. So as far as timelines, there's a couple different steps. So our goal is we have some eligibility requirements for employment services. And really it's, do you have a disability, and does it get in the way of work, right? Or preparing for work, or advancing in a career. And so, our goal is to determine eligibility as soon as possible. It could be the very first day that the individual meets with their counselor. Regulatory wise, we have 60 days, but we don't want to wait 60 days because, we know that the earlier we start working with people, the better. And if someone wants to engage with us and receive services, we don't want to delay. So there's a regulatory timeline, but we beat those across the state. And then after someone's eligible, our goal is to put together that plan, that individualized plan for employment as soon as possible. There's a timeline within 3 months, within 90 days. It doesn't take that long. It just depends on what the individual wants to do. So if it's been slow and it's been frustrating, I commend you that you are emailing and asking for an update, advocating. I would encourage you to reach out to the district administrator and share your concerns and your frustration with them. We're really in a really great time for Department of Rehabilitation, because our history is we were very regulatory let's meet compliance related, and I would, or compliance focused, and then also really medical model, right? And, and we're not medical model anymore. We really have a culture shift. You may be working with someone who isn't on that boat yet, right? So hasn't turned the ship, but I, again, appreciate the advocacy. And if offline, if you want to, tell me what the counselor or the office that you're working in, I can get you the district administrator's name and phone number.
Thanks for that personalized, individualized service, Nancy.
Anytime.
A question here about an IPE being not very detailed, despite the fact that this parent's son was very detailed in talking to their caseworker. And they were told that if they kept the IPE broad, it would give the vendor more options. Does this sound right to you?
That's a really good question. And I'm not sure I have an answer because everyone is different, right? So if someone comes to us or works with us and they're like, I want to do this, XYZ, I want to do this. And the qualifications for that career path or that job are explored and find out what they are. Typically you want to have more detail, right? But if the individual isn't quite sure and maybe it's like testing the waters a little bit, it can be more broad. It sounds like in this situation, you had very specific requests and needs and it wasn't met. And again, I would encourage you to reach out to that district administrator. The IPEs can be amended. They can change at any time. They can be like start a new one, start from scratch. So the plan that's put in place at the beginning, it can change, right? I mean, I've worked with many people who, I worked with someone who they were 16 years old and they wanted to be a doctor. Okay. And who am I to say they can't be a doctor, right? I mean, when I meet with people, I always ask them, what do you do? And how did you know that you wanted to do this? And so every doctor I've ever talked to has said, I've just known from the beginning of my life that I wanted to be a doctor, right? So we wrote an IPE for, it had multiple stages or phases because, they're 16. So we had to, get through high school and then, do general ed and prepare for ultimately for the MSAT, I think it is. I think it's the MSAT. And then we had other phases for, getting, that we would reevaluate later. And after the very first semester at the community college, he said, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And not because it was hard and not because he didn't have those support or resources, but he's like, I don't like biology. Right. So it was one of those having the opportunity to try and see if it works. And then we just ripped up that IPE and we started another one. So I can't really say for sure if it sounds right or not. It depends, but it doesn't sound right if you had details and your son had details and it didn't end up looking that way. So the district administrators are there to support and to answer questions and to work to make sure that everyone is getting what they need in a timely manner.
Is a district administrator sort of like a director of special ed at schools?
Yeah, it's not quite that lofty. So basically, we have 14 different districts, 13 of them are geographic. And then we have a district that's blind field services, and they work throughout the state, so they're not geographically tethered. And so each district has a regional director, and I'm just going to give you the hierarchy. The regional director is responsible for really engaging with education and DDS and regional centers at a policy level, really, and then others. And we've been doing a lot of work recently with individuals who are youth and foster care, as well as involved in the justice system, right? So they've been working with probation and child welfare, but they're really like policy, responsible for policy. And then the district administrators, they are managing all of our staff who are providing direct services. So they're managing the team managers who are managing the counselors. And then we have service coordinators and office technicians and business specialists, and their job's kind of like a job developer, right? They go out and they shake the bushes and they find jobs that are available, or they work with employers to say, what if you could have, this is like customized employment, and talking to a business, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you like? And what's missing in your business, and then seeing if an individual that we're working with can meet that need, right? So maybe it's not, I don't need if I'm a bakery, I don't need a baker, or I don't need a cashier, but maybe I need a sous chef, right? I don't know. So it's looking at that and really matching the job and the needs of that business with the individual who wants to work in that field.
Okay. And if someone is working successfully, can they use DOR to find a different job closer to home or with higher pay?
Yes. So when the services that we provide, whether it's pre-employment or employment, and again, pre-employment is just preparing, right? And then employment, our goal is to help people with disabilities get a job, keep a job, and advance in a job, right? So there are, and there are situations, there are disabilities, there exacerbation of disabilities, changing of disabilities, where maybe this job I have now works within my disability situation and circumstances, but the next level up, it's going to get in the way. So definitely come back, work with us, or if you haven't worked with us yet, come, request services, get connected, and then just the questions that are going to be asked are, do you have a disability and how does it get in the way of work, right? So someone who's working successfully, sometimes it's not successful, right? Or maybe it looks successful on the outside, but they're not receiving the right pay, or they're not receiving the right benefits, or they're severely underpaid, right? And so that's an opportunity to work with DOR to get a job that's more meaningful and more satisfying and more at a self-sustaining, family-sustaining wage. So yes, the answer is yes.
Great. And if you change offices, does the plan follow you? So if you move, does the plan follow you, or do you have to start all over again?
Nope, the plan follows you. You can even keep the same counselor. And this is one of those silver linings from the pandemic. So in the past, it was, oh, you're in LA and now you're moving to San Francisco. We got to change counselors, and then the person has to not necessarily start over with their plan, but start over and building a relationship and rapport, and then finding out what services are available. This is a different labor market. So you can keep the same counselor, and you can keep the same plan. If moving somewhere where, like I said, the labor market is completely different, so you were in a city and now you're going rural, you might want to revisit that plan to see, is this preparing me for work in my community, or, am I willing to relocate, right? So, but yes, it would follow you.
Okay, great. And I know I can be annoying about this, but I don't even have 50% of the folks yet filling out that survey. So again, it's just a quick click. It's 3 questions. Those of you who have done it, if we were seeing everybody, you could say people, yeah, just go ahead and do it. It's not a problem. It's really easy. So if you could please fill out the survey, we'd really appreciate it. Does DOR work with the 18 to 20-year-old students in NPSs, or even in transition programs? Maybe you could talk a little bit about transition partnership programs and, student services, maybe a little bit more to allow people to understand the full thrust of it.
Definitely. So thanks, Elisa. So student services, this in the past. So again, remember, historically, we've done things in a different way, and we're like we're not your grandpa's, not your grandfather's DOR. And I'm aging myself with that.
Yeah, right.
But in the past, we really weren't very successful in working with students and young adults because maybe they weren't ready to get a job and they didn't want a career path. So they just waited until they were adults, or maybe they had some, bumps in the road or some barriers or hurdles, and then they would come back to us or come to us. And but a few years back, it's actually part of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, as amended by the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA. They added focus on students. And again, this is a result of, we know there's research that shows that the earlier someone at least puts their toe in the water or learns about opportunities, has the opportunity to practice, get work experience, the more successful they're going to be later. And so our focus, we have no age limitations. So I've worked with someone as young as 12, and I've worked with someone as old as like 92 or 93, and they didn't want to stay home anymore. They wanted to work. So there's no age requirement. But for student services, there's 5 sets of services. They're self-advocacy, workplace readiness, work experience, job exploration counseling, and post-secondary exploration. So they're very specific services with a whole range of activities. And they're for individuals who are 16 to 21, who have a disability, and they either have a 504 plan or an IEP. That's all the eligibility, right? So they have to meet the age range and they have to be in school. Summer doesn't count. So if, the end of the semester and then you're on summer break, they're still a student with a disability as long as they're planning to go back to school in the fall, right? But those services, they're bite-sized, right? So they're not necessarily about, let's put together this IPE where you're gonna, go to school for 2 years and then you'll transfer to another school, and then we'll help you get a job, with all the job seeking skill training and setting up interviews. It's little bite-sized pieces of, let's learn about the world of work, right? So what are the options? What are, some of the things I shared earlier, the different activities? What are the options post-secondary, college, university, apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, vocational schools, on-the-job training, military? There's a whole slew of options there. But not everyone knows. I mean, when I was growing up, you either were a doctor, a nurse, or a firefighter. That's when you were in second grade and someone asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Those are the 3 things people say. No one talked about being a statistician, and actually, a project manager. Those just weren't kind of the things that people were striving for. So how do you learn about those if you don't have someone in your life that does those jobs? So that exploration is really important early on. So then there's the opportunity to, this is what I think, let's do some work experience. Yes, I love this. Let's continue to research this. Or no, I didn't like this. Let's do something else. And with and I know I've got 2 more minutes here. And with, we're also working with a couple, we're trying to engage with a couple providers who they're doing like virtual, artificial intelligence type programs where you can, I don't know what the right word is. I shouldn't even be talking about it, but so like virtual reality, not artificial intelligence, virtual reality, where you put the glasses on and then you can be like walking through the warehouse, walking through the set design and having the experience in a safe environment. So I think I want to be respectful of the time.
Yes, thank you. A minute left, and maybe we can just squeeze one more question in, and that is, if your child has a more severe condition and needs continuous support, is this something DOR can provide? And maybe talk a little bit about the time frame, and that maybe if it's a regional center client as well, that regional center might be able to help scaffold after
DOR
definitely
expires. Yeah, we work very closely with the regional center, and so we provide the services that we can provide, and they provide their services. And they're not duplicative, but they are parallel. They're working together. They're complementary. And then after the individual gets a job, if they need more support past what we can provide, we can coordinate extended services through the regional center.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just answering some of the questions in the Q&A. I do want to be mindful of everyone's time and thank Nancy so much for taking her time to come and speak with us tonight. Maybe in the future we can have something that's specifically directed to student services or specifically directed to supported employment services that DOR provides. Please do check. I did have the link in the chat, the Connections California page on work preparation. Lots of links to DOR there. It's a very comprehensive website. So maybe just to get a little educated yourself, you can visit the website. So again, thanks to Nancy for her time. Thank you. Oh, sure. Sorry, go ahead.
One more thing. Everything I talked about tonight about pre-employment services, those are DOR student services. So
there we go. We have talked about student services. So pre-employment services are DOR student services, and that's the 16 to through
21,
right through 21. So
and we extend to 22 if someone's 21 and the semester isn't over, or
school.
We don't kick them out because you had a birthday.
Okay. All right, great. So thank you to Beatriz for doing our expert Spanish interpretation. Thanks for everyone who filled out the forms. I understand some people couldn't see the links. We will send the link to the evaluation with the slides. So if you haven't filled it out, please fill it out again. Thanks for all the hands. We appreciate the love and we appreciate you taking your time because we know how busy you are. So thanks again, Nancy. Thanks everyone for attending and have a great night.
Thanks everyone. Have a great rest of the night.